Hey, hello out there. Welcome to the 10-day restaurant marketing power challenge. I am so excited to kick off today. This is going to be the start of a kind of an in-depth 10-day workshop, basically, is how I'm going to look at it. Each day, I'm going to come on. For about an hour. We're going to walk through one of the modules of my restaurant marketing power playbook. We're going to walk through a module. I'm going to explain it to you. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some homework so you can jump in and actually take some action and take your restaurant marketing to the level that you know it has to be. I hate to say this, but when I'm looking around and working with a lot of restaurants, or I'm going out in public and I'm working, going to conferences, speaking, I always do a lot of research on the restaurants in the market. And one of the sad things I see is a lot of restaurants post like crazy. Very few restaurants actually effectively market. And when you fail to market effectively, basically, you're wasting not only your time, you're wasting your energy, and if you are paying for advertising, you're wasting your money. So this whole kind of course, this 10-day restaurant marketing power challenge is designed to give you the elements you need to create an outstanding marketing program so you actually can take your marketing to that level where you know it need to be. So here's exactly, I'm going to give you a breakdown of what the 10-day marketing power playbook looks like. We kind of break it down into 3 phases. We're going to talk about foundational stuff, which is, think of it like building a house. If you're building a house, you don't have a really solid foundation. What chances do you have of building multiple levels on top of a weak foundation? It's pretty bad. In fact, most of it's going to come crashing down on you. So first thing we're going to do, first 3 kind of classes, the first 3 days, we're going to work on the foundation. Today, we're going to work on ideal guest. Tomorrow, we're going to do perfect message, and then we're going to do positioning paradox. After that, we're going to move into the next phase, which is another 3-step phase, and we call it the framework. Just like you're building a house, once you have a solid foundation, now you can put up the infrastructure, and we start creating the framework of what our marketing program is going to be like, our marketing power playbook. We're going to talk about what I call as a social media matchmaker, making sure you're on the right social media channels and marketing channels based on what basically the work you've did in the foundational phase. We're also going to talk about one of my things I love talking about is emotions of marketing. We're going to talk about the 13 emotions of marketing. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the content machine, how to create posts with ease. Most people have a really hard time creating posts. They seem like they just kind of rehash the same stuff. And sometimes I think they post out of desperation, like, I got to put up a post right away. So they post anything. And sometimes when you just post anything, you're not really being, thoughtful. You're not really having a plan. And it just kind of just seems like it's half-ass. And then the final phase is what we call the floodgates. This is where your marketing really opens up the doors. And we take you to that next level where you go from just having great guests to just loyal guests to actually having raving fans. We're going to talk about the rave review formula, how to respond to the positive and the negative reviews. Because if you've been in business for any time, trust me, you will eventually get a negative review. No one likes them. I don't like them either, but you have to learn how to deal with them. Then we're going to talk about the soapbox method. This is how you actually keep your brand out in front of everybody. And then the last one in the floodgates is we're going to talk about what I call as a super fan theory, how you're going to basically start getting your guests to market for you by creating raving fans who actually help you get your word out there. Boom, 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 boom. So if you're just joining me today, now day 1 is normally, I was going to just broadcast it in the private Facebook group, but I know it's a lot of people out there might not know about this thing. So I want to make it available. If you want to join the rest of the days, now day 1 will be available publicly on YouTube and also on Twitter and also in the private Facebook group. If you want to join the 10-day restaurant marketing challenge, I would suggest do it now. All you got to do is just go to facebook.com/groups/ I know it's a lot. 10-day restaurant marketing challenge. Find the group. You have to answer a couple questions. The reason I ask a couple questions, this is for restaurant owners only. I want to make sure we keep all that kind of riffraff out there so people aren't soliciting the group. So just head over to facebook.com/groups/10-day restaurant marketing challenge, answer a couple questions, and then you're in. And then you can actually watch the replays. You can see the homework. You can ask questions of other people in the group. It's a really great format and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's jump into the house rules. Here's the house rules for this challenge. Number one, I want you to have some fun. Number two, I definitely want you to take notes, and I definitely want you to take notes in your own handwriting. Research has shown if you take notes in your own handwriting, you're actually 70% more likely to retain the information. Also, at the end of each day, I'm going to give you an assignment. You can call it homework if you like. In fact, I think I called it homework on the slide. You're going to have some homework. You must do the homework. This whole challenge is about taking action. It's not about sitting there passively and just saying, oh yeah, that's some cool stuff. Yeah, writing a few notes saying, that makes sense. I like that. I might try that. No, I want you to take action. I want you to actually take what we're talking about, and I want you to put pen to paper or whatever, or fingers to keyboard on a computer, but I want you to take some action. I want you to actually implement. I want you to do the homework. This challenge is useless unless you do the work. And finally, if you've been to any of my sessions, been to any of my coaching programs, any of my workshops around the world, a lot of times I'll drop little gold nuggets and I'll say hashtag WTSD. What does WTSD mean? It means write this shit down. It's the stuff that I really want you to pay attention to, the little gold nuggets that are going to help you kind of separate the good, the bad from the outstanding. Fair enough? If everyone's ready to rock and roll, let's jump into what we call is the ideal guest. Knowing your ideal guest is probably one of the most important elements of a really, really effective marketing campaign. And I made a lot of mistakes with this myself. Everyone here is one of those first ones. Hashtag write this down. Knowing your ideal guest gives you clarity. All right. Clarity creates a niche, and then a niche gives you an edge. In fact, let's change this real quick. I know it's already right off the back. Right. Knowing your ideal guest gives you clarity. Clarity creates a niche, and a niche, or a niche, however you want to say it, gives you an edge. If you want to stand out in marketing, you have to know who your ideal guest is. It is critical to not only dialing in who do you want to attract to your business, but you're going to see we're also going to use this to help us dial in our ideal employees too. If anyone out there is suffering right now, trying to find help, trying to fill positions, trying to get people to come work at your restaurant, another thing you want to do is you want to create not only your ideal guest, but also your ideal employee. And so everything we talk about today, even though we're going to be focused more kind of guest-centric today, if I want you to know, and also hint, part of the homework will be writing your ideal kind of avatar for your ideal team member. So without further ado, let's jump in a little bit more. Defining your ideal guests. Defining your ideal guest. What we're going to talk about is creating a restaurant avatar. And avatar is basically a marketing kind of term that we use for like persona, profile. You can call it whatever you like. And there's a couple different ones. There's ones, and I've heard people describe them as like a buyer persona. That's a lot of times for retail. Sometimes they call them marketing personas. Sometimes they call them I call them the guest avatar, or sometimes some people I've heard them even call it your target market. Those phrases are all used interchangeably. The one we're going to use is basically, I'm going to say it's your ideal guest or your guest avatar. You'll hear me saying guest avatar. What the avatar is basically it's a fictional kind of general representation of a persona of a person who's most likely to come to your restaurant or if I was looking at this from a team standpoint, an employer standpoint, employee standpoint, who is most likely to work with you and work with you well? It's critically, super critically important for the success of your marketing, for your sales, for product development, for your menu development, and actually also for the delivery of your services, to have a very deep understanding of who your ideal guest really, really is. You've probably heard this saying before: you can't hit a target that you haven't set. This is where a lot of people's marketing goes astray. They're marketing like a blanket approach. They're marketing like a shotgun approach. You're trying to be everything to everybody. Hashtag write this down. You cannot be everything to everybody. You want to be something special to someone. That's exactly where we want to go with this. When you have a really, really clearly defined outcome of who your ideal guest is or your ideal team member, what's going to do is going to help you. And as we move through the program, you're going to see it's going to help us determine what social media platforms that they're spending their time on. So you know where you want to be present most of your time and also active. It's also going to help you be more effective in your advertising, because your marketing dollars are going to actually reach that person that you're really trying to target. And the beautiful thing about a lot of marketing today is you can really dial in your audience. You can really dial in down to be very specific about who you want to reach, who you want to see your ads on social media. And that's a huge game changer. Instead of just hoping, you actually can dial it in, and then you tweak it a little bit tighter, and you dial it even better. When I started really paying attention to who my ideal client was, for me, I use the word ideal client. When I started dialing in who my ideal client is, my business took off dramatically, because I wasn't wasting time with people that weren't going to eventually become ideal clients. So this is a game changer as far as not only for your sales. Again, it's going to change how you market in the future. It's going to change how you develop products, because it's going to be a lot better connection with people. And that's what we're going to talk about too. When you connect with your avatar, your ideal avatar, you're going to understand what drives them, what motivates them. You're going to understand their pleasures, their desires, their wants, and also what they don't want, which is another huge thing. It's also going to help you kind of set up your dining room better, because if you know who your ideal guest is and what the kind of size is, you can actually kind of refigure your dining room to take advantage of. There's a KPI out there I love to manage and look at. It's called RevPASH, and RevPASH is revenue per available seat per hour. So by knowing my ideal guest, this is going to really help me kind of dial in my RevPASH too. And then here's the thing: if you know your ideal guest, you can deliver and develop so much better products, really dial in your menu, so you're anticipating their needs, their behavior, and also their concerns. So defining your ideal guest is critical. There's a great quote out there. This is from Simon Sinek. And I recommend this book to everybody. I always recommend to all my clients. It's called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. This is a huge thing. We're going to dig into this why thing a little bit more tomorrow in the perfect message. I'm just going to give you a little kind of foreshadowing here. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. That's critical. It's so critical to understand what you do and why you do it. And we want to communicate that. And that's why the next two modules in Foundation are so critical, is that after you understand your ideal guest, now we're going to take it to the next level. We're going to understand our perfect message, how we communicate that. And then the positioning kind of part. And the third day, I'm going to show you how to position your brand in the market where your message will be most well received. And it's called positioning. There's some things that you want to do with your menu and with your marketing and with your avatars that will position you better. And there's some things that if you do them wrong, you will basically get out of position in your market. Actually, what that does is and think about that kind of like your ranking, like on Yelp or TripAdvisor, like the top 5 restaurants always seem to be positioned very well. Well, imagine that you were like the number one restaurant in your market, and all of a sudden you did something, and now you're like number 100. What happened is that the positioning changed. Your position changed, but there's some things I can tell you about positioning that you can look for in advance, so you can make sure to hedge your bets and make sure you always maintain a great positioning in your market. And that's what we want to talk about. Boom, boom, boom. Hashtag, write this down. Emotion drives behavior. I would make that into a banner and post it up on your wall. Emotions drive behavior. There's a big difference between repeat business and loyalty. Repeat business basically means someone's willing to continue to do business with you, which is awesome. I love that. I love repeat business. I know everyone on this call or watching this presentation wants repeat business. And perhaps they come back to you because of your price point. Maybe there's a certain menu item they love, or maybe it's some kind of convenience that maybe you're close to their house or close to their friend's house, whatever. But as soon as convenience and maybe the price point changes, the guests will complain, and then they tend to leave because they want those needs met somewhere else. Loyalty, on the other hand, is quite different. Loyal guests will choose you even if it means overcoming some kind of inconvenience, because they want to keep doing business with you. They're going to pay more. They're going to travel further to your restaurant. And they they have great pride in sharing your brands. That means they talk about your brand to their family, to their friends. And I tell you right now, if they're loyal, even if your menu is a little bit more expensive, they're going to actually find a way to get there. Guests become loyal when they feel they're a part of your tribe. They're a part of your kind of community, a part of who you are, your kind of group, your family, your restaurant, your brand. Here's the thing about needing to belong. It's not rational. Okay? It's not a rational need, but here's the thing. It's a need that exists across every culture. I travel all around the world. I speak to countries, South America, all over Europe, North Africa, Australia. I speak to restaurant groups. I see restaurants all around the world. All human needs are the same no matter where you go in the world. That's something you can always bet 100% on. When people have a feeling or a connection that they're kind of with people that share their values and beliefs, then they start feeling that we care and they feel safe. They actually start having this bond with you. And it's a great thing. And that's what you want to aim for. You want to get this bond with your guests. Human beings, we all seek and crave emotions, and we seek them out. And no matter where we go, here's the thing, we trust those people who have kind of the same perceptions, beliefs, and values that we do. We want to be around people and companies or brands that like us and share our beliefs and our values. And when you get to that point, you've actually created what we know as raving fans. Now we're going to dig more, and today, I think it's day 1, 2, 3, 4, day 5. We're going to dig into the 13 emotions of marketing. I'm going to take you on a deep dive on that. That's going to be a great workshop. It really is a game changer for all my clients when they start incorporating more emotions into their marketing. They go from just getting some comments to actually start getting a lot of people buying into their brand, which is awesome. All right, creating a restaurant avatar. We're first going to start on what we call as the ideal avatar. Ideal avatar. So what do I mean by ideal? All right. So having a clearly defined guest avatar is important. And your question, I know, is probably going to be, well, hey, Donald, how do I create one? The good news is that creating a guest avatar is not difficult to create if, it's a big if you ask the right questions. If you ask the right questions. Now, here's the other question you're going to probably ask. Well, Donald, what are the right questions? Now, you're in for some tremendous value because I have, you're going to see it in this thing. I have basically a complete kind of template. It's going to help you create your ideal guest avatar. And this template makes it so easy. I'm going to ask you a bunch of series of questions. So if you don't have a piece of paper and pen, grab a piece of paper and a pen right now, or grab your computer, grab your phone, whatever you have that you can take notes on, because this thing is going to actually help you create that journey and help you make a successful marketing cycle. Okay. One of the things you can do too, and we'll talk about a little bit later when we talk about superfan theory, and you might want to just look at it. You should be able to get a customized audience pixel from Facebook to add to your website too. If you don't have a Facebook pixel on your website, you're missing out a great way to track and learn more about the people who visit your website. So you can just Google that one right away if you just want to look at it right now. We'll talk about it later on the course, but one of the things you want to make sure is that you have an avatar or you want to have a pixel lined up and stuff like that. Now, when you're doing this, you might say, well, hey, what if I have multiple avatars? What if I have more than one? Now, you might have multiple avatars, and most restaurants do have multiple avatars, but you're going to have a primary one. That's the one you want to put most of your energy in on your marketing campaigns, on your advertising is your primary one. Now, instead of writing 3 or 4 avatars at the same time, what we're going to do is I want you to kind of focus in on one at a time, because that's the best way to tackle this. Once you do it, you go through the exercise one time, then you can reproduce it and do it for multiple avatars. And then we're actually going to reproduce this kind of whole process I'm going to take you through today, and you're going to do it for your ideal team member too. So let's start off with this part. Ideal guest avatar. Again, we talked about some of this thing. It's going to be more effective in your advertising. It's going to help you kind of better connect with your avatar, with your copy, because you have an understanding of their pains, pleasures, desires, wants. It's going to help you develop better products for your menu and services because you're able to anticipate their needs. So we first start off with what is known as demographics. Demographics is big. Demographics is huge. It's the number one thing probably I would say most restaurants know about. And when we talk about marketing, most restaurants know exactly what the demographics is. And it's basically right here. It's geographic. It's where do they live? They live in like Arlington Heights. They live in, Cook County. So you want to write down like the geographic part of this. You want to write down their age. Now, again, when I'm looking at an ideal guest, we're going to create a fictional character. So don't say they're between, 23 and 48. That's not an ideal guest. That's a broad range. You want to dial this in. We're going to create one person first. And like I said, you can have multiple avatars, but we're going to start. So we're going to say they live in Arlington Heights. I'm going to take some notes too. Arlington Heights. My avatar is going to be, I'm going to say they're 47, right? They're a baby boomer. Relationship status, I'm going to say they're married. This is all general stuff. Education, college degree. You can just put down basic stuff. Now, where do they work at? I'm going to say they're a mid-level supervisor at American Airlines. Their income, I'm going to say they make $150,000, $150K. Home type, single family home. Their owners, Average family size. They're married. They have 2 kids. And their kids are in high school. Now you might say, this is kind of crazy. Why am I getting this specific? Because the more specific you get, remember we talked about this in the very beginning, clarity is power. The more specific you get, the better you're going to be able to dial this all in. So that's like just demographics. Demographics is just basic nuts and bolts about who, where they live, how old they are, what generation they are they married, what school, are they educated? And here's the thing, if you're kind of a casual, laid-back brand, and you don't know if your people are, college degrees and stuff like that, or super sophisticated, and where would that matter? Let's say I'm in downtown Chicago. My restaurant's downtown Chicago. I'm a super high-end restaurant. I'm basically, chef table menu or a chef tasting menu only. My average plate is $150 to $200. From there, I might say, education for stuff, I might have to dial into people that maybe have masters or PhDs. That might be my ideal avatar. The doctors and lawyers of that market that live in that area are the kind of people that want to be able to, as far as income, those are people going to be more the higher end bracket. They're like 250 or higher as far as income. A person making, and not to dissuade any kind of or talk negative about any kind of cultural things, but a person making $45,000 a year is going to have a different kind of lifestyle than someone who has something that's, a 250 or above kind of income level. But this stuff is really going to help us dial in. So your demographic is just your basic nuts and bolts. Everyone got that? Good? All right. After we got the demographic down, we're going to move more into what we call kind of, and this is the part we got demographics and we have psychographics. I know psychographics sounds like a really cool word, but psychographics is where the money's at. Hashtag write that down. Psychographics are where the money is. Demographics, everyone understands demographics. Everyone markets to demographics. Pretty much most restaurants in the world market to demographics. Very few restaurants understand the psychographics, what drives their ideal guest behavior, and they don't market to that. That's going to be your brand differential. That's going to be your marketing differential when you understand their psychographics. So when I'm looking at their interest, there's basically some questions I'm asking myself. Like, what business or industry are they in? So I already said this person works corporate America. They work at American Airlines, right? For entertainment. Let's say they live out in Arlington, they're out in Chicago. They're a Bulls fan. Of course, they like. I'm gonna say they're a Cubs fan. And they like hockey, so they like the Blackhawks. I'm not really a big football fan, so they like the Blackhawks. So I got that down. Entertainment, movies they might like action, venture, rom-coms, because they're a married couple, got a couple kids, but they like rom-coms. He likes action, of course. Now, when you're doing this and you're picking this person, pick one of the two. Like if you think if you want to do a male avatar, so I'm going to give this person's, I'm going to say it's Johnny Rocket is this guy's name. Johnny Rocket lives in Arlington Heights. He's 47. He's a baby boomer. He's married, has a college degree. He's a mid-level supervisor at American Airlines, makes $150K. He has a single family home, right? He has 2 kids. His wife is named Jennifer. His kids are Skylar and Hope. Skylar is 17. Hope is 15. They go to high school. Skylar's about to graduate. Hope still has a couple years left. This is going to be really, really huge when we start dialing in, especially when we start needing stuff for our marketing audience, when we start getting into the Facebook marketing part. So entertainment, I got that down. Family relationships, right? Again, I talked about they're married. He's married to his his college, and I could even go as detailed as his college sweetheart, Jennifer. Married his college sweetheart. Fitness and wellness. They're both pretty active. Johnny works out, 5 days a week. He goes to LA Fitness. He likes weights plus some cardio. Like I say, Jennifer works out at Orange Theory. She goes 5 days a week. And she also does hot yoga twice a week. Okay. Because they're 47. He's 47. She's 40. She's 46. So they're getting up there in age. The thing about that is that, see, this helps again when I'm looking at my avatar. I'm looking at my menu. If my ideal person's getting a little up there in age and are looking about taking care of themselves a little bit better, do I have enough health options on the menu? If that fits my kind of ideal psychographic. Okay. Remember, psychographic is where the money's at. Food and drink, alcohol. Yeah, he likes tequila. She's a wine drinker. She likes white wine. She likes white wines, and she tends to go towards that kind of rosé palette. Hobbies and activities. Yeah, they have a couple little family. They have a couple little friend groups they do. They have like a Thursday night poker game, or you can say Thursday night, bridge, whatever. Thursday night bridge with friends, and then Sunday they usually do kind of a friend barbecue, especially during the summer. Sports. You write down any kind of sports. But again, the more information you give, the better you'll be off on this thing. So that's their interest. Next, I'm going to talk about their behaviors. Again, we're still focused. Now we're focused on, again, more psychographics. Whether they're charitable donations. I'm going to say they love working with No Kid Hungry. It's a national kind of organization that helps, stop childhood hunger. Digital activities. Are the gamers, Facebook, online spenders? Oh, yeah. Jennifer loves Amazon. Are they early adopters, late adopters? I'm going to say they're kind of late adopters. Late adopters are basically in technology. These are people who early adopters are people who line up when the new iPhone comes out every fall. Late adopters wait for it's been out for a couple months, and then they see what all the reviews are, and then they jump into it. Financials. Again, you want to get as more detailed as you can. What kind of investments do they have? They play the market. They have most of their stuff in stocks and bonds. Are they into crypto? What are they into? What's their spending? What kind of credit cards do they have? What kind of bank cards? What kind of retail stores? Do they have any premium cards? Oh, yeah, he works at American Airlines. They probably got the American Airlines, rewards card where they're getting their points when they buy stuff. Purchase behavior. Kids, pets. We didn't talk about, do they have a pet? Yeah, they have a dog. Okay. They have a Maltese. And the Maltese is named Echo. Maltese are a certain breed of dog. Again, there's whole little kind of subcultures to that thing. Same thing if people had pit bulls. There's a whole subculture to that thing. Travel. How often do they travel? Where do they travel? They like to go to Canada. They like to go to Europe. They like Northern Europe. They like Southern Europe. They like Italy. Where do they travel to? You want to get as much detail as possible. This is going to help you. I'm telling you, it's going to really, really help you dial in a fantastic ideal guest avatar if you understand their behavior, what drives them. I want to go back here real quick on behaviors. One of the things I also want you to talk about in your behavior is I want to talk about, like, where do they shop? Where do they shop? Where do they shop? And you wanted to look at this at quite a few different levels. Grocery stores. Grocery stores tells me a lot about a person, what they value. If someone goes to like a general store, like an HEB or a Smith's, or someone else, one of my avatars might be, maybe they go to Whole Foods or Sprouts or a specialty thing. It tells me a lot more about their buying behaviors. If I understand their buying behaviors, I can help customize my menu or the words on my menu to appeal to them better. Right? I mean, are they Target or are they Walmart? Do they like Dillard's or Saks Fifth Avenue? What are some brands? But if they shop online, like, we mentioned that Jennifer's a big, online Amazon shopper. Does she have certain brands she like? Does she like, Tommy Bahama? Does she like Tory Burch? How about Johnny? Is Johnny more of, is he Hugo Boss or is he Calvin Klein? Again, the more detailed you can give me, the better you're going to be off, right? And that's where we really dive into behavior. General stuff, this is where I start asking myself these questions. What are their concerns related to your product or your service? Are they kind of, and what I mean is by concerns is, do you have lots of options? Do you have healthy options? What could be some of their concerns based on what you know so far about them? What could be some of their concerns? Enough health options. Maybe their daughter, Skylar, is a vegetarian. Do we have enough health options for their lifestyle? Do we have vegan options or vegetarian options for their daughter if they bring their daughter? What has happened in the past that led them to this point in their life? What are some things that's happened to them? Johnny had maybe a health scare when he's 47 now. Maybe when he was 45, he had some weird heart palpitations. So maybe that kind of concerned him about cholesterol and concerned him about health and stuff like that. So maybe I need to watch that with my stuff. Okay. What about your product or service matters to this person? Is it convenience? You offer online, you offer delivery. Do you have a huge patio? Do you have bigger booths, bigger tables? Are they the type of people who like to go out in groups? Do they like to do it more family? Or do they like to go out just as a couple? These are huge questions you need to ask yourself because they answer a lot of stuff about your brand. Remember I talked earlier about RevPash? RevPash is revenue per available seat per hour. If I understand my avatar, my ideal guest avatar, I can set up my dining room to be more successful and more profitable if I understand. If I'm looking out in my dining room and I see couples, mostly couples, that's four tops, right? So let's say I'm looking out and all my four tops, or maybe like I'm looking at my reservations, my four tops get filled up the fastest. And it seems to be, it's always like they come in groups. It's like a couples always come out together with couples. Or I'm looking out in my room, my dining room, and I see it's like mom and dad with maybe one of their kids or two of their kids. So maybe these people, maybe Johnny Rocket, maybe the Rockets, what they do is maybe they go out a couple times a week. 2 times a week, they go out as a family. And 1 time a week, they go out as a couple. These are important things to know. 2 times a week, they go out as a family, and 1 night a week, they go out as a couple. Now, if my ideal avatar is mostly families, or maybe friends and families, so maybe they go out 1 time a week with their family, 1 time a week with their friends, and then they go 1 night a week out as a couple. If I've got tons, and I've seen this before. I had a client who had tons of huge tables. I mean, 6 tops, 8 tops, 6 tops, 8 tops, all over the place. Not enough 4 tops, not enough 2 tops. He was killing himself as far as his RevPash because he'd take 4 people and put them at a 6 top. Hashtag write this down. The most expensive thing in your restaurant is an empty seat. If you want to maximize your rev pash, the best thing to do is make sure that your tables match your demographic and match your psychographic, match your ideal guest. All right? How does your restaurant make their life better? What goes through their mind before they come to your restaurant? What goes through their mind before they come to your restaurant? Is it just convenience? I just need to grab a bite. Is it, I like going there because it's relaxing. They have great atmosphere. What is it about your restaurant that goes through their mind? They feel like they belong. They feel like it's a place where they can walk in, be casual. It's not stuffy. It's laid back. What is it? And then this great question here is like, what is the final straw that makes them pull the trigger and move forward to come to your restaurant? What's the final trigger? Is it your price point? Is it your quality? Is it your service? Is it your location? Is it your parking? What's the final straw that makes them want to come to your place? What is the final thing that says, yeah, those guys are good? Okay. And I want you to understand it has to tie back to an emotion. How do you make them feel? That's the driving question. Hashtag write this down. How does your restaurant make them feel? And if I had to ask you to sum it up in one word, what would that word be? How does your restaurant make them feel? Welcomed, happy, satisfied, content, relaxed, romantic. If you had to pick one word, it's a huge exercise. One word. If you want to write it in the comments, that'd be great. I always respond to the comments. I love the comments you guys, everyone puts in there. How does your restaurant make them feel? How does your restaurant make them feel? One word. How does your restaurant make them feel? That'll be a game changer for you. You nail that, it's a game changer. I'm telling you right now. Now, sometimes when you're creating your ideal avatar, it might be complicated for you. So what I offer is also right, the anti-ideal guest. So sometimes when I'm doing this exercise, I tell people they're having a hard time coming with their ideal guest. Think of all the things that you definitely don't want. Think about the negative guest, the person that you definitely don't want. The person that's just shopping for a discount. The person that's just a raging alcoholic and gets drunk and makes a scene in your restaurant. The guest who makes negative or, really rude comments to your staff. The guest who basically talks down to your staff, treats them like they're servants to them. What are some of the things you definitely don't want? Because sometimes that's an easy thing to start with. If I know what is like the guest from hell, I can create the guest from heaven. And a lot of times I'll have, especially if you're hung up on this, I want you to know there's a way to get around it. And the way to get around it is basically make sure that you basically understand both sides of the coin. You got to know what you want, and we're going to focus in on that, but you also got to know what you don't want and what you won't tolerate. That becomes like the line in the sand. I'm not going to tolerate someone coming in talking down to my team. When I have my own restaurants, I've actually kicked people out for talking down to my team or being rude to my team or using curse words to my team. And I'd say, no, get out. I don't need your business. I don't want your business, and you're not welcome back. And of course, everyone who does that always thinks they're a bigger deal than they are. And they want to you know who I am, how much trouble I could cause for you. I'm going to write, negative reviews. Please do what you feel like you need to do, but I'm not going to let you treat my staff like that. So sometimes start off with that one. Now, when you put this thing all together, and this is going to be your homework, when you put this thing all together, you should have basically a narrative or a story. Your persona is, again, it's kind of a semi-fictional representation of your ideal guest, and also you're going to do one for your team member too. Now you've got a lot of questions here. What I always recommend to people is like watch this presentation again and run through it again, because there was a lot of questions I threw at you. A lot of questions to ask yourself. A lot of questions to ask about your ideal or perfect, however you want to do it. I call it the ideal guest. You call it the perfect guest. You call it the guest from heaven, the ideal team member, the ideal team player. But I want you to develop a narrative. And when you get done with it, basically you're going to have a little story. And when you have a little story behind it, it really, really changes stuff. So I'm going to kind of give you an example of a story, how I would kind of write this out based on some of the stuff we talked about today. So Johnny Rocket. Johnny Rocket is a 47-year-old married man, lives in Arlington Heights. He's basically a baby boomer. He's got a college degree in business, and he's a mid-level supervisor at American Airlines, and he works at O'Hare out of Chicago. All right, so he works at O'Hare. Makes $150,000 a year. He's married to his college sweetheart named Jennifer, who is 46, and they own a home, single-family home in the suburbs out in Arlington Heights, like we talked about. They have 2 kids. They have Skylar, who's 17, and Hope, who's 15. Skylar is 17. She's dreaming about becoming a architect one day. She's also a vegetarian, right? So when I start dialing in, that's the demographics part. Now I'm gonna start making this thing about their psychographics. So, Johnny and Jennifer, they drive. He drives an Acura, and she drives a BMW. She's a dental hygienist. And together, they're making a little over, she's probably pulling close to 100,000 too. So they're making around $250K a year as a couple. They like to go out to nice restaurants every once in a while. But they like to stay mostly close to their neighborhood. They like to go out at least 2 times a week. Usually they go out 1 time a week with their daughters, and then they usually take one of their friends, a couple, goes with them. But they also like to have date night on Friday nights. They like to work out 5 days a week, so health and fitness is both important to both of them. Johnny likes to work at LA Fitness, where Jennifer likes to work out at Orange Theory. He's more of a tequila drinker. She's also more of a kind of a rosé wine drinker. They like to kind of do their meals are more kind of health focused. They like smaller plates. They're not into huge plates. They're not into big size proteins. They like to order lots of little plates and share, talk about them. They're also very much into healthier kind of items on the menu. They like entree salads. They like leaner proteins. They both love fish. They also like to, shop at Whole Foods in their neighborhood. Jennifer tends to do a little more shopping online. She loves Tory Burch, Tommy Bahama. Johnny's more of a Calvin Klein kind of, Tommy Hilfiger kind of guy. He likes Cole Haan shoes. He likes Lucky jeans. And so why is all this stuff important? Because this stuff's really important when we start getting into advertising. And we're going to talk about eventually, I'm going to talk about when we talk about the soapbox theory, we're going to talk about a thing called geofencing. And geofencing, to me, is the #1 marketing hack in the world. Geofencing is how I pretty much I can be in front of people all the time. So there's 2 words you're going to learn during this program: geofencing and retargeting. Geofencing and retargeting are probably the two most critical tools you can put into your marketing toolbox. They're going to help you be omnipresent in front of people all the time. And you've seen what retargeting is before. Retargeting is when you go online to look at maybe some shoes, and I've done this, unfortunately. I've seen like an ad for Kohan shoes on Instagram. I looked at the damn ad. Now I see shoes from every manufacturer because I looked at somebody's shoes. Now they think I'm getting retargeted for other brands and their shoes. That's retargeting. Geofencing is basically where I can put up a boundary on certain areas in my town, and I can retarget those people too. So let's say, again, Acura, they drive, Johnny drives an Acura, Jennifer drives a BMW. Maybe I know, maybe my restaurant's a little more upscale. Maybe my price point's in the $30 to $45 per person range. Okay. That's going to be a little bit different than a Portillo's, which is a little bit on the lower end. Now, if I'm a little bit higher end restaurant, now this again goes to what your concept is too. You have to tie it all together with your concept and make sure it matches. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about perfect messaging after you've given me your avatar homework. So let's say, like for my brand, let's say this brand that we're doing, we're a high end, we're an upscale, kind of Southwestern bistro. That's our brand. We're an upscale Southwestern bistro. Our guest check average is $48 per person. Now, if I know like my ideal kind of guest drives like Acura, BMW, Audi, all right, maybe Lexus, I can use that information to my advantage, and I can geofence those local kind of dealers in my market. I can put a geofence around them, and then anyone who goes into that place looking at Acura, BMW, Audi, Lexus, whatever my brands are, they start seeing my ads about my upscale Southwestern bistro. Also, same thing. If I know they go to a certain mall, and I know Johnny's more of he likes Dillard's, I could put a geofence around Dillard's, and anybody who goes into Dillard's now are going to start seeing my ad. If I know they go to Whole Foods, I can start putting a geofence around Whole Foods, and now they start seeing my ads. Geofencing and retargeting is probably the two most critical things to getting your brand in front of the right people all the time. And that's in that floodgates part, that's what we're going to talk about. But today what I want you to do is I want you to write a narrative. I want you to write 1 or 2 paragraphs. Kind of tell me exactly who they are. And not just say, I know somebody wrote down, my ideal guest or customer is one I already have. Kind of. What I usually do is a lot of times, if you're having trouble with this, pick someone who's like a really, a raving fan of yours. Not just like the average person who comes to your restaurant. Who's someone who's like, man, if I could clone that person, I would clone them. Right? So it might be a hybrid of someone who already comes in your place. But you want to get into a little more detail with it, and you want to go a little you want to have a little creative license on this. You want to create this kind of persona about them. Now, here's another warning too. Hashtag warning. Sometimes the guest you have right now is not the guest you need to be marketing to. So be careful about that. Sometimes people have the wrong guest coming to their restaurant. You might see this guy coming in a lot, but, he basically orders the cheapest thing on the menu. He's always looking for a discount or a coupon. He buys, a draft beer. He sits at the bar by himself. To me, that's not that's not a raving fan. He's a repeat customer, a repeat guest. That's great. I love repeats, but it's not my ideal. So sometimes a lot of people take who's coming in their restaurant now, and they think that's my ideal guest. Sometimes it's not. Who would you like to, like I said, who would you like to clone? Who would be someone who comes in all the time? They're a great guest. They love the place. They love you. They love your team. Your team loves them too. Who would be someone you would clone? That's going to be your homework. Write a narrative. Write, like I'm telling you, I'm not asking you to be a writer. I'm not asking you to go crazy, but I want you to send a copy to me of your kind of ideal guest. This thing, again, before you can hit a target, you got to know what your target is. You got to put the parameters out there. Having this thing dialed in, knowing your ideal guest is going to be a huge game changer for you if you do it right. Remember, we talked about in the beginning, the house rules. House rules are take this information, actually do the work. Send me over your ideal guest kind of narrative. And again, write out a couple paragraphs. Hey, Johnny Rocket, he's a 47-year-old guy. They live in Arlington Heights. He's married to his college sweetheart named Jennifer. She's 46. They have 2 kids, Skylar, and they also have Hope. Skylar's 17, Hope's 15. Skylar's probably going to want to go to school. She wants to be an architect. She's also a vegetarian. Hope is basically in cheerleading. She's in the health food. She's thinking about becoming a vegetarian because she sees Skylar doing it. They both kind of like to eat healthy. They work out 5 times a week. Again, the more detail you get, the better it's going to be. Write a nice little narrative. I'm going to put you a parameter down too. It has to be at least 2 paragraphs. At least 2 paragraphs. This is like old school homework. 2 paragraphs minimum. If you can write a whole page, that's fantastic. And then you can email it to me at donald@therestaurantcoach.com. donald@therestaurantcoach.com. Email me your ideal guest story. That's your homework for today, for tonight. Write it out. Don't just give me bullet points. Johnny Rocket 47. No, those are bullet points. I want you to write a narrative, like write a story, like you're writing something for a movie. I want you to write me the backstory about this person. That's your homework. And then tomorrow, what we're going to hit, perfect message. But you got to do the homework on this. Does not help if you just jump around to module after module, but don't do the work for it. Please, please. That's why it's called a 10-day restaurant marketing power challenge. The challenge part is you doing the work to get better results. So with that being said, I'm going to say have a great day. That's our hour for today. Tomorrow, again, day 2 of the 10-day restaurant marketing power challenge. We're going to talk about the perfect message. Do your homework today. Email it to me at donald@therestaurantcoach.com. donald@therestaurantcoach.com. Send me over your narrative. Send me over your ideal avatar story. I look forward to reading them. I'll give you some feedback on them. And then we'll be here tomorrow. Have a fantastic day, everybody. I appreciate you being here. I also appreciate you taking the time to improve not only yourself, but improve your marketing and make sure that you do the work.